welcome to this bonus episode of Good Friday Unpacked, where I'm just going to be dissecting the album cover. I drew the album cover back in about April after we had finished with writing and recording all the songs. What it is just a mishmash of doodles I did representing different lines from songs or different biblical imagery that lines up with the story that we tell over the album, and even just nods to other artists that we were listening to at the time we were writing the songs. So since there's a lot of different things going on here, I'm just going to start going kind of through the order of the album with what relates to what. On the far left side here, we've got this depiction of the Tower of Babel, which is from a story at the beginning of the Bible of these people who try to build this giant tower all the way up to heaven of their own strength, and it just doesn't end up working too well for them. It crumbles, and I just felt that that was thematic for the album of trying to do things all on your own and failing and realizing that you can't do things all by yourself. The first thing that relates to a specific song is this depiction of a heart falling out of a little trash bag over here. It's reference to the line, "I threw my own heart away," from the beginning of A Life That I've Lost. There's also this light bulb down here that just represents brokenness. That is a consistent theme throughout the album. Then down here we have this paintbrush that is painting the world and just drawing this landscape that has some other things going on that we'll talk about later on. Representing poison, we have this depiction here of this poisonous pill bottle with legs, and then we also have the dove who can't fly that's specifically referenced in the lyrics. Back to the landscape, we have this river coming through here that's talked about in You Were Gone. And on the river bank is a couple of figures. We've got Bob Dylan and Paul Simon, both lyricists that I was really listening to a lot as I was writing, but also I reference their songs in particular in the lyrics of You Were Gone. They're both asking questions that are found in the lyrics of those songs. What's the matter with me? Who am I? Questions that I feel are also very related to the album itself and the story being told. Then over to the right of that, we have these two figures who both appear to be dead. They're labeled You and I in reference to another line in You Were Gone. You and I may be dead men, but I'm a dead man walking. When you turn it to look at it the way that it's labeled, the one labeled I, me, is the one that's standing upright and is walking, and the one you, who I was really talking to God when I wrote the song, is the one that is dead. But when you refocus it and look at it from the perspective of everything else, it's clear that God is the one who has risen up and I'm the one laying in death. When we come up to the top right corner, we see this depiction of the Fremont Bridge with a bunch of tents below it. Fremont Bridge is an iconic bridge in downtown Portland, and this is kind of just a representation of Tent City and the homelessness crisis that that song is written about. Then we move over to the left of that, and we have this club that represents the story of Fanty Adult. It's got a sign on it that says live and has the silhouette of a woman on it. But when you look inside, there's this stage show going on just to kind of represent that everything in there is fake and put on and doesn't have any substance to it. It's just all for show. So up until this point in the story, all the songs are just kind of telling the story of running and trying to do things all on your own in all these different facets and really coming up broken. And this is the point in the album, in the song If ? Where that starts to turn around and we start this return journey to love and to relationships and letting other people in. A story that I felt was very related to that was a story in the Bible of the prodigal son. It's about this son who goes out and just wastes all of his inheritance trying to live for himself and ends up feeling very broken. He then returns to his home ready to just grovel and beg, and his father doesn't make him do that. He just accepts him back into his home with open arms. That story is found in Luke chapter 15 in the Bible. So down in the bottom right corner, we have this book with some pages ripped out. One of those ripped out pages says Luke on it, and then the two page numbers that we see are 15 and 20. Luke 15:20, that verse in particular, is that reuniting moment where the Father and the Son come back together and the father throws this big celebration, throws this feast. If we look up a bit more, we see this cow about to be slaughtered. That's something that happens in the story, is they kill this fattened calf so that they can have this big feast in celebration of the son who has come home. After that, we just have some more specific imagery too on the day. We have this figure of a man about to chop down this fence in reference to the line, "You helped me cut down borders." And then we also have a tree over in the landscape that is the tree from verse 3. Finally, this all just leaves the song "Love, Fear, Failure," which is represented mainly in two things here. We see this depiction of the creation of man painting, where Adam is reaching his hand up out of the earth here. But in this drawing, he has a syringe stuck in it as he's reaching towards heaven, just to kind of represent the addiction that's talked about in Love, Fear, Failure. And then next to that, we have this chair balancing on a fence that is just a reference to the depiction in verse 2 of Love, Fear, Failure. Tying it all together, we have the Good Friday logo right in the middle. It's this depiction of an eclipse. It's the sun being blocked out partially by the moon. And to us, this really represents the idea of the dark before the dawn. Once again, it's a theme we see all throughout the album of just this darkness, this brokenness, and then pushing through to the light on the other side.